All right, hello, period 7. Going to improvise here with the beginning of chapter 9, your introduction to water resources. So hopefully you came into class, you did your big question, which is up on the board. Please write that question. Hopefully you took a few minutes to respond to that. Next class period, we'll have an opportunity to share those responses. Then you looked at the PowerPoints leading up to now, right, which is on water resources. And I wanted to make a little video of California, right, and water diversion projects in California, because it's important that you know where you get your water from. You go to your shower, you go to your sink in your kitchen, you turn a little knob, and water just magically pours out. But I think it's important that you know where that water comes from. All right, we get them from three main sources. All right, so I'm just going to go in chronologic order of how our Los Angeles's water supply system began and to where it is now. All right, so we go back. It wasn't very long ago that the only water supply in Los Angeles came from the Los Angeles River. And now it's just gone down, diminished to a stream in a concrete river channel. But that river by itself is said to have had enough water to supply enough water for about 10,000 people. All right. Now, of course, LA's population has grown quite large, and it was all due to the efforts of a group of individuals, but in particular one individual, and his name is William Mulholland. And yeah, there's a road that's named after him, that goes over the Hollywood Hills into the valley, Mulholland Drive, and he is thought to be the father of Los Angeles. Here's our man. Sorry, probably should have had it ready. But you've probably seen him up on the wall in the room. That's William Mulholland, right? And he was a pretty amazing man with an amazing story. He was born in like 1850, 1855, something like that. Came over to the United States as a 15-year-old. Didn't have a formal education. Spent some time in San Francisco, then in Arizona. But then he came to Los Angeles and originally started working as a ditch digger for the Department of Water in LA. And after just a few years, he made such an impression on the people running the water in Los Angeles that he actually took over as the head of the Department of Water. And of course, LA at this time was really just a village, right? It wasn't a huge, it was a town, a small town, but it wasn't a big metropolitan area at this time. Now, he and his friends knew that the secret to success for cities, and especially a city in an arid climate like Los Angeles, was to get water. And what he would say is, where water flows, money grows. So he and his friends in the Department of Water, including the mayor of Los Angeles, a guy by the name of Fred Eaton, devised a plan. And their plan was to go up to the northeast to a place called the Owens Valley. There was Owens Lake and Owens River that ran through that valley, and they said if we can divert water from that river to Los Angeles, we can grow food, we can increase our population, and it will allow the population to grow, right? So let's take a few notes, if you would, all right? So now that's California. Hopefully you can see it. It's not too bad. It's all right. All right, so looking through here, just looking at the Southwest, right? The arid Southwest. Most of this is desert. But here we have California with Los Angeles right about here, right? We have San Diego down here, and we'll call this San Francisco, all right? So then we have Nevada, we have Arizona, we have Utah, Colorado, and New Mexico. All of these areas are extremely dry, right? And the key to success in these areas is to have water. Now, the wettest part of this area is obviously Northern California. And understand that 80% of precipitation in California falls in the northern half of the state. But 80% of California's population lives in the southern part of the state. So we needed to try to get that water from Northern California down to Southern California. I'm going to draw a couple of geologic features here to give us a better understanding of where this water comes from. But here, we'll call those the San Bernardino mountain range. And all through here, and all the way up, is the Sierra Nevada mountain range. All right. And a place that most of you guys might be familiar with is this big lake right on the border of Nevada and California, roughly there. That's Lake Tahoe. Okay? Now, we don't get our water from Lake Tahoe, but if you go directly south of there, there is a lake called Mono Lake. M-O-N-O, Mono Lake. And then if you continue to go south from there, that's where you're going to find Owens Lake and Owens Valley. And this is where William Mulholland and his buddies said, hey, that's where we want to go. What they needed to do first was get there and secure water rights from farmers that are in that area. Now, at the time, there was plenty of water in Owens River to supply those farmers with as much irrigation water as they possibly could need, right? So they had plenty of water. Mulholland knew this, and he and 100 of his buddies went to Owens Valley, and within a period of just a few months, what they did is they secured water rights from these farmers. And what they did is they deceived these farmers a little bit. They went to that valley and they said, hey, you know what, are you using all your water? That farmer would be like, no, I'm only using a tiny fraction of the water that I can use, right? And so Mulholland and his buddies say, hey, you know, would you mind, I'm just going to start a farm down the road, and can I secure some of the water rights from you? Can I get like 20% of the water that should be going to you? What, can I buy that from you since you have plenty of it and I'm trying to just get started? Farmer's like, yeah, buy it, sure. So they bought water rights, but they did this all up and down the Owens Valley. So they had thousands of farms, right, or thousands of farmers that would give them their water rights. And if each one of those farmers gave them 20% of their water rights, all of a sudden they were looking at a windfall of water rights that they had no intention of starting a farm in Owens Valley with. They wanted to build an aqueduct from Owens River to Los Angeles. So they had a plan, and they knew this Owens River, they could take water from Owens River, and without the use of pumps or anything, just by the use of gravity, they could build an aqueduct to bring that water to LA. So that's what they did. They secured the water rights, and of course those farmers that they got those water rights from, they went to church or they went to the market, you know, a couple months later, and they're like, hey, guess what? I sold 20% of my water to this guy who's going to start a farm. And then their neighbor was like, yeah, so did I. And then their neighbor was like, yeah, me too. And they started to figure this stuff out. And before they knew it, they sold a majority of their water rights to the Owens River to Los Angeles Municipal Water Supply, and an aqueduct was in the works of getting built. This aqueduct was going to bring water from Owens River through the Sierra Nevadas and through the San Bernardino mountain range to LA. So Mulholland and his business partners understood that where water flows, money grows. So being the smart investors that they are, what you realize is after they secured the water rights, for the next few months, these guys bought all of this land east of LA, in between LA and Owens River, because they knew, they already had the plans in place and the water rights to build an aqueduct from Owens River straight to LA. So they bought all of this land knowing that water was going to flow right past it, and they can have huge, successful farms along these lands. So they did that.